So this is part one of the Shotgun Jane Doe series. Shotgun Jane Doe was a young lady who was shot to death on June 1st, 1987 in Knoxville, Tennessee. She's gained a lot of popularity among the internet and YouTube, but really not gained the visibility that she needs in certain areas of the United States. So what I wanted to do was create a multi-part series on Shotgun Jane Doe, try to bring some awareness to her. So these that you see on the screen now are pictures of Shotgun Jane Doe. These are artist reconstructions, because as you're going to learn over these over this series of videos, is that she had her head basically removed with a shotgun blast. We're going to find out how and everything. And what we actually know about Shotgun Jane Doe is we know where she was killed. We know who shot her. We know everything about her except who she was. I mean, she's just like she dropped out of the sky. We can't find anyone that's said that she was missing or whatever. She holds the record right now for the most exclusions in the NamUs database. So the story as it's told. Now, what I'm going to do in this episode of the series is going to be basically an introduction. I'm going to kind of show you what the mainstream story is, and then I'm going to interject some things that I've found going through records that kind of put some question to this. So we're going to start here with a video produced by a member of the Knox County Sheriff's Department.
My name is Amy Dobbs. I'm a cold case investigator with Knox County Sheriff's Office in Knoxville, Tennessee. For the last 4 years, I have attempted to identify a Jane Doe who was shot and killed on June the 1st of 1987 here in Knoxville. She was approximately 20 to 30 years old, 120 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. She had a tattoo on her upper part of her left arm with the initials B and H. She also had a scar on her abdomen, possibly a cesarean scar or a hysterectomy. She had injuries that were consistent with what we believe would be a car wreck. She was picked up off of I-81 up in the Bulls Gap area of Tennessee by two truckers at a truck stop, and she was then brought back to Knoxville, where she attended a party and then was later shot and killed at this party. Unfortunately, the two truckers who picked her up, we're not sure if they ever learned what her name was, and if they do know it, they're not coming forward with that information. We recently sent off her teeth to the Smithsonian to have a test conducted, which would give us an area that she grew up in, or that we feel like she grew up in as a child, and we took her clay facial reconstruction that was done at the time of death, and we had it regressed in age back to about 15 to 16 years old. Anybody that might see this picture, we're encouraging them to come forward and contact us. They can contact us at 865-215-3705, or they can email us at coldcase@knoxsheriff.org. If anybody would like to go to her NamUs page, which is the unidentified number 1567, they can also go on there and look at the exclusions that have already been eliminated, or they can also look at potential matches. We're just encouraging anyone that has any information on who this young lady would be to please contact us. No tip is too small. We look into everything. Somebody out there misses her. So somebody's missing a daughter, possibly a mother, a sister. So we're just encouraging anybody to help us put this last piece of this puzzle together and bring a family closure and answers to what happened to their loved one.
So that's the entire video. That lady's name was Amy Dobbs. She works with the Knox County Sheriff's Department and the Cold Case Squad. Somebody told me the other day that she was no longer with them. I don't know if that's the case or not, but a very good video. Now, I'm not saying that the police were wrong. I just simply want to raise some questions about the report based on the records that I've seen. I've been to Knoxville. I've seen Knox County court records. I've seen all the articles out of the Knoxville News Sentinel archive. I've even seen some of their own records, records from the medical examiner. And after an episode or two of this series, we're going to get into some of those records. We're actually going to display them and look at exactly what they do say. One thing is they said possible hysterectomy. The retired medical examiner I had look at this said that most likely hysterectomy could be excluded as the uterus is intact in the body. In the medical examiner's report, it actually states all organs are intact. So I don't think that we can think that she had a hysterectomy. The medical examiner that I talked to, which again was not the Knox County medical examiner, and also told me that, I needed to explain that they had not personally looked at the body or whatever, and I understand that. But we're going to get into that in another episode. Again, in the video, it says that she was picked up at a truck stop. She wasn't. She wasn't picked up at a truck stop, and in subsequent reports from the Knox County Sheriff's Department, they did correct that. She was picked up at a rest stop. Now, a rest stop is different from a truck stop. Now, I don't know how many states have these. I know Tennessee does. Several states here in the South that I've traveled through have them. But a rest stop is simply just a place to pull off the interstate and stretch your legs, take a rest. Some of them have like public restrooms you can use or whatever, but there's no business, there's no restaurant, there's no, it's not a truck stop. Generally, they're considered kind of dangerous. Most people traveling, especially traveling by themselves, generally won't stop at one. There's been some incidents here in Tennessee and in surrounding states, and there may be across the United States. I haven't checked into that. But she was picked up at a rest stop. I'm going to show you in a minute a slide of the rest stop that she was picked up at, and we'll see what the difference is. One of the things the Knox County Sheriff's Department says that she attended a party on Stanley Road. I can't find anything that substantiates that, but no, that's not to say it doesn't exist. But at no point in any of the testimony that I've read or any of the reports that I've read is anything mentioned about Stanley Road, except for the fact that one of the men that were with her the night that she got shot had a girlfriend who lived on Stanley Road, and that's going to come into play here after a while. The men were not truckers. Absolutely were not truckers. They were day laborers here in East Tennessee, Knox County, and surrounding areas. At no point had they been truck drivers, nor have they been truck drivers. So let's move on here. We're going to get down. This is the rest area. This is the actual rest area on I-81. And as you can see, it's just a little exit that pulls off the interstate and then gets right back on the interstate. There's no buildings. There's some lighting, street lights here and there, for the time of night that we're talking about. But no buildings, no nothing like that. It's a pretty desolate place, and I think you can see why in the middle of the night you wouldn't want to stop there with just yourself, or even you and your family. Now, we've heard basically what the Sheriff's Department has to say about it, but let's dig a little deeper into exactly what happened with this. Bristol, Tennessee, is also Bristol, Virginia. It's a city that straddles the state lines. Half of Bristol's in Tennessee, half of Bristol's in Virginia. And on the Bristol, Virginia side lived a man named Percy Preston. Now, Percy Preston was age 76, and some accounts have him with early stages of dementia or something similar. In the 1980s, there were several names for it. But he leaves home Saturday night. Now, we know it's very late Saturday night that he leaves home. We don't know why he did, but he was going to Knoxville. So, around midnight, Percy leaves home and starts traveling south to Knoxville. Now, the most direct route to Knoxville is I-81. Basically goes from Bristol straight into Knoxville. Along the way, Percy picks up 3 hitchhikers. Now, this would have been Sunday morning, which was Saturday night after midnight, of course, is Sunday morning. He doesn't remember where he found them, but it was along the way they were hitchhiking on the interstate. He pulled over and picked them up. He identified the hitchhikers as 2 men and a woman. Now, the 2 men and a woman is going to come into play in a moment. Some people have gone to believe that our Jane Doe was that woman. I don't think that's the case, and we're going to explain why in another video. But anyway, the somewhere between where he picked them up and drove them to Knoxville. See, Percy was the one driving them to Knoxville, and Percy definitely was not a truck driver, didn't pick them up at a truck stop. He's just an old man. So he's driving them to Knoxville, and somewhere along the way, the 2 men trick Percy into letting them drive, but somehow gain control of his car. Percy claims that all day Sunday they drove him around Knoxville, stopping for more gas, stopping to eat. And Percy claims at no point was he able to get his keys back or get back control of his car. So they just went joyriding with Percy's car, with Percy with them. 2 men and a woman. At about 1:05 a.m. Sunday night, which would have been Monday morning because it's after midnight, but we'll call it Sunday night, the police were called to that rest stop that we just saw on I-81. The caller to the Greenville police said that a elderly man was wandering around the rest stop and seemed sort of out of sorts. So the police show up and they find Percy Preston. Now that's at 1:05. 1 hour and 25 minutes after the call to the Greenville Police Department, our Jane Doe is shot in Knoxville. 1 hour and 25 minutes later, our Jane Doe is shot in Knoxville. It takes 1 hour and 15 minutes to drive from Percy's location, where the Greenville police found him at that rest stop, to where she was shot on Jim Starkey Road. Okay. It takes 1 hour and 25 minutes to drive that distance. And 1 hour and 15 minutes later, or it takes 1 hour and 15 minutes to drive the distance, And 1 hour and 25 minutes later, she's shot. That gives them a 10-minute window to drive from where they dropped Percy off to shooting the girl. Now, with that being said, that's a 10-minute window. If we listen to these men's statements and reports, they partied with the girl. Must have been a short party. They loaned the girl clothing. I guess she could have got changed going down the road. I don't know. But this is important because the shooting was 1 hour and 20 minutes after Percy was found. It takes 1 hour and 15 minutes to drive there from where Percy was found to where she was shot. In the shooting, we have to understand the house that they were at. It was a house out in the middle of nowhere. It's a house kind of by itself. And there were records or statements saying that the girls had been robbed once before. I went through the records I could find, and granted, some of them were, I didn't get to see. I couldn't find any record of the house being robbed before, but I have to assume it probably was. So the two girls that lived in the house were probably on edge when in the middle of the night, a girl starts beating on their door. The girl yells, "He has a knife." Now, we know that not just because of what these two girls said, but when she started beating on the door, one of the girls called 911, the other grabbed a shotgun. The 911 operator, according to press accounts at the time, states that she heard a girl's voice yell, "He has a knife." Girl's beating on the door. The girl yells, "He has a knife." The girls tell him to go away. They don't. The girl keeps beating on the door, hollering for help. "He has a knife." One of the girls, assuming that she was going to get through the door, fired a shotgun blast through the door. That shotgun blast took the head off of our Jane Doe. We're going to see how extensive the injuries were in another video. So what's the police theory? The police theory is that it was a possible attempt at robbery. The two men, having later been chased down and caught, said that they were going to rob the house and that the Jane Doe was in on it. That she was beating on the door trying to get the homeowners to open the door so they could rob them. Well, that seems totally outrageous to me. And here's where we come to the first thing that I'm going to totally differ from the police department on. The police department felt that it was all a ruse to get the girls to open the door and the three people were going to rob them. That is absolutely stupid. If I am sitting in my house at 1 or 2 in the morning and somebody knocks on my door, maybe I open it. Maybe I think somebody's car's broke down. Maybe I think somebody's run out of gas. Maybe I open it. We live in the country here. Maybe I open it. But if they're beating on my door, and especially if they're screaming, "He has a knife," I'm not going to open that door, and no sane person would. Here's the thing. What kind of plan is that? Okay, you beat on the door and scream, "He's got a knife." They'll open up the door. I'm sorry, you beat on my door at 2 in the morning and scream, "He's got a knife." I ain't opening the door. I'm calling the police. Hey, you try to come through my door, I'm probably going to shoot you just like these two women did. So I have a huge, huge problem with that. And we're going to leave it there for this episode. We're going to get, in the next episodes, we're going to get more into other discrepancies, including just how realistic the drawing is of our Jane Doe, how realistic some of the exclusions are of our Jane Doe. But on the next episode, we're going to go into who is Tina. Tina is the only clue, the name Tina is the only clue that these two men said that they got from this Jane Doe. They claimed they didn't get her name. Although they claim they drove around with her all day, they never got her name. I don't think they drove around with her all day. I think there was another woman in that car, and we're going to prove that later. But if we take them at face value, they drove around with her all day and never got her name. But they did drop a clue about a Tina. We're going to find out in the next episode who Tina is, and go on from there. There's going to be some more discrepancies, and there's going to be some more things that just make you go, about this. So stick with us, and look for part 2 of this series. I'll put a link to it in the comments down below. And be sure to give me some comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me, if you don't understand any of this. I'm not a professional YouTube person, so I don't know how easy my theory is to follow here. But in the next episodes, we're going to get out of theories and we're going to get into the records and even some autopsy reports and crime scene photos. So thank you for your help. Give us some comments. Be sure to watch the next episode. And let's see if we can find this girl at home and send her back there. Thank you.